roll in that second half, win this one 38-23. LSU opened up this football game, though, looking like the football team that was going to walk away with this one, 17-7, real quick and explosively, right? I think it's 10-7, and then they take a 76-yard slant to the door, missed tackle by Texas A&M. Next thing you know, LSU's up 17-7. Doesn't look like A&M's offense going to be able to move the football very much, but it was clear to me, even from opening script and even from opening success stories, if you will call that, for LSU's offense, it was very clear to me early on that even when LSU was scoring the football, apart from that one really explosive slant, missed tackle, whatever, Texas A&M's defense was going to make this LSU offense earn this. Like you were going to have to crawl the ball to get into the end zone, and most definitely going to force you into settling for field goals, because that's what this A&M defense does, right? They're extremely good. I think they said on the broadcast last night, the number one team in the nation in goal-to-goal defense, meaning they hold teams to settling for field goals more than anybody else in the sport. It's because they're a really good defense. So we're going to talk about that a little bit more. But, despite the fact that LSU was moving the football, it was clear to me early on they had an absolute refusal to run the football, a complete refusal to run the football. And when you drop a quarterback back 54 times against this A&M defense to just 8 traditional carries, I don't care how good Garrett Nussmeier is, and I believe in him as a decision maker. I believe in him as a quarterback. I believe he's going to throw the ball accurately, and he's going to make really good decisions with the football. However, you drop any quarterback back 54 times against that front and that mixed coverage and that zone defense and those level of football players, buddy, you're asking for trouble. You're asking for absolute trouble. And though you got through the first half unscathed with regards to those troublesome moments, those turnover-worthy moments, they showed up all in the second half. And again, it's only a matter of time. I don't care who you are. Unless you're Tom Brady or unless you're Peyton Manning, you drop back 54 times to just 18 traditional runs, you're going to have problems. They're going to start mixing looks on you. You're going to start making turnover-worthy throws. And some of them were defense created. Some of them were just like, what are you doing, man? What are you doing at this point in the game? And maybe you are rolling left, Garrett. Maybe you are rolling left, trying to throw a ball to Kyron Lacey up over a Texas A&M defender. And even the Texas A&M defender after the game's like, I was wondering why the hell he threw the ball. He's like, I know you see me right here. So maybe you're pressing at that point because you just know, like, there's no way we're moving the ball unless I do this type of stuff. But the first interception, just goofy, throw the ball away. You're too smart. And first of all, you're not him. You're not that guy, pal. Like, I love Garrett Nussmeier as much as the next guy. I think Garrett Nussmeier is a really, really high-end football player. But we all know he's not like the most physically gifted quarterback that ever walked the planet. So when you're rolling left and you've got pressure coming after you and you're trying to throw a ball back across the field, you're not that guy. So don't throw that ball. Be smart. Throw that ball away. The second interception I thought was a great play by the nickel defender. They've got a duos receiver. It was a very similar play, just in the inverse to what Georgia did against Texas, where the flat defender picks the ball off on the number 2 wide receiver. It's the inverse, right? They were running cover 3, which means the corner, or cover 4, I couldn't quite remember. The corner's bailing, right? But the nickel defender is rerouting number 2 and then does a great job of sneaking back up underneath the hitch route on the outside. It's a really great play by the nickel. I also think it was a very questionable mandatory outside release because you walked him right into it. Like, the nickel did such a great job of rerouting number 2 and then finding the ball. It's a great play. The third interception was very clearly you not understanding that the defensive line was leaking and that they put him into a spy. So at that point in the game, again, like, you're dropping back so many times that at that point they have become exotic in their coverage. Whoever you think's coming might not be. Wherever you think the coverage is from, it might not be. I was watching that Texas A&M defense preparing for that football game on film, watching them against Missouri, and just thinking, good God, man, like, that Texas A&M defense does so much from a discovery or a coverage standpoint and disguising coverage. I think that's why my brain tried to say discoverage. Disguising coverage. That they send pressure from depth more than any other defense that I've seen, where, like, The nickel is very clearly standing over the number 3 wide receiver, and he ain't going to creep to the box. Not at all. He's going to blitz from depth and hope that they cover enough that he's going to impact the football play. And that happened several times last night. Several times. Now, let's talk about the adjustments, all right, from this A&M football or coaching staff from the offensive standpoint. But let's wrap a bow on this defensive analysis. It was very clear to me and to anybody watching that football game from very early on that A&M's defensive line was there to set the tone almost too much. Like fighting in pregame, not a great idea. But hey, look, I mean, if I'm my man Shamar Turner and I'm 6'5", 300 pounds, and I look like Myles Garrett but 300 pounds, yeah, you can come get some work in pregame too if you want some. You can come get some in pregame, and then during the game, it was very clear to me that particularly Shamar Turner, almost to a fault, was playing aggressively. Was playing, I'm here to hunt, I'm here to kill, seek, and destroy type of defense. And I thought it was playing out right there in the middle of the second quarter on into the fourth quarter of that football game. Number 5 was the most physically dominant and physically aggressive football player on that field. And they didn't really have an answer for him except for the yellow handkerchief. That was about it. Okay, that was about it. The coverage, the mixed coverage, it's going to be a really, really tough defense to play against because I understand LSU's running back. I understand why they were so slanted with their run carries versus their traditional dropbacks. Their running back room's banged up. B, good luck. Like good luck running the ball against Texas A&M. They're just so good on the interior of that defensive line. They roll so deep. They're so aggressive and they're so NFL bound. They're so NFL bound. They got 3 probably top first-round draft pick caliber football players, right? Number 11, the transfer from Purdue, is an elite football player. Number 5 and number 4, both the Stewarts, Shamar and number 4, all right, elite football players, going to be first-round draft picks. Okay, so Evan maybe? They're both Stewarts. Both incredible football players. I told our Discord chat for the Georgia fans watching this today, it would be like Texas A&M has a version of Marcel Williams who's taller and longer. That's number 4. And then they got a version of Marcel Williams who's slightly squatted and bigger, 300 pounds. It's number 5. They have 2 of them. So they're really, really, really good. Now let's talk about the switch of Connor Weigman to Marcel Reed. Let's talk about Connor Weigman first and foremost. I think we've seen the experiment now, right? I think we all know that the moment a high caliber defense is on the other side of the football field from a Connor Weigman-led offense, your quarterback is now going to become inaccurate, unpredictable, and frantic. Inaccurate, unpredictable, frantic. Those are 3 qualities and 3 describing words. Great speaking here from yours truly, right? Those are 3 words that we can't have anywhere near our quarterback play at all in big-time football games. We can't. And we saw that against Notre Dame, and we've now seen that against LSU. By the way, I think the 2 highest caliber defenses they've played all year, I don't think maybe they've drawn Oklahoma. I don't think they did because they got Texas at the end of the year. You get the point? All right. You can't look that way at the quarterback position against good defenses and expect us to continue to roll you out there. So great job making the decision to pull him. Also, great moment of the game to do so. A big turnover right there in the second half. Ball in your own end thanks to a personal foul as well. So ball at like 23, and we're going to put the Q in. So great time deciding on the change as well. Could you imagine trying to do that ball in your own 6, right? Completely different situation for a guy coming up off the bench for the first time in several weeks. So I thought it was a great decision, but can we stop and look, it's very obvious. Like Kirk Herbstreit's the best to do it right now and has been for a long, long time. You guys know this. Kirk's been selling the Marcel Reed or buying Marcel Reed stock for a while because he sees what everybody else sees. The moment Marcel Reed steps into that game, all right, and into that offense, 2 things happen. 1, they become far more dynamic, obviously. All right, far more dynamic. But 2, and most importantly, their coordinator, who they just paid a bunch of money to take from Kansas State, Colin Klein, everyone in the building, everyone at home watching on television can see that dude take a damn deep breath in the box. Woo. Man, I can involve quarterback run again. That's what I do. That's who I am. Matter of fact, that's who I was as a player. Like all I know how to do, and all I'm best at doing is design quarterback run, is RPOs, is quarterback reads, is involving the quarterback's legs. That's when I'm my best. That's what I did at Kansas State. That's what I did as a player. That's what you hired me to do. And then you give me Connor Weigman, because I love Connor Weigman as much as the next guy from an NFL standpoint. Big, tall, fast, can throw it, can't see the field. Cannot see the field in big games. But you hired this coordinator to come in and do what he does, and it's so clear to me that he is so much more comfortable with Marcel Reed in at quarterback. So not only is your offense better, but your coordinator's more comfortable. End of experiment, end of story. Marcel Reed should be your guy. By the way, it ain't just Kirk Herbstreit that has said this. Us on this network, anybody who's watched A&M football feels the same way. Every opponent that they prepared for, apart from this one, has been prepared for Marcel Reed, because they know once we stop this guy, the other preparation is completely different. Let's talk about LSU's defense, because they look flabbergasted. They look like they ain't seen this on tape. They look like the moment Marcel Reed came in there, they were figuring out shit on the fly. Like they didn't prepare at all for quarterback design run or for the idea that Marcel Reed might enter this football game. Is that a point of criticism for Blake Baker? I would say yeah, because you have to assume, like every coach assumes their plan's going to work. So when you're playing a team that has two quarterbacks, you have to prepare for your plan to work against the starter, thus preparing for the change, right? You go into football games knowing that you're going to do well, right? Or thinking that you're going to do well. So in the back of that mind, we've got to at least have a plan for what happens when our first plan works. You see what I'm saying? When you're playing these teams that have multiple quarterbacks, and particularly multiple systems with those multiple quarterbacks. All right, so I thought that was a little bit of a point of criticism, and a rightful point of criticism for a Blake Baker staff that clearly had a plan for Connor Weigman. They boxed that dude. For 2.5 quarters, they made Connor Weigman look like Connor Weigman, right? And it didn't look great. All right, and then as soon as Marcel Reed came in, complete unaware of how to stop quarterback run. And it looked very obvious, right? Very obvious from that. But here's the deal. The moment Blake Baker and that defensive staff made an adjustment, started rolling safeties into the box, started trying to take away quarterback run, what happened? Marcel Reed hit them over the head with a 65-yard bomb. So what do I do as an analyst? I'm going to tell you what I do. I credit the other team for winning, right? The other team for doing what they need to do. Marcel Reed came in that football game, established quarterback run. The moment LSU countered and settled in to stop quarterback run, he slit their throat. What do? You tip your cap, you say A&M's real as shit, and you move on. That's what you do. That's what you do if you're an SEC football team watching that one. You tip your cap. You know that defense is legit as hell. You know the run game with Le'Veon Moss, no matter who's at quarterback, is really good. And then the moment Marcel Reed comes in, you hold your breath and you stop the run and pray that you can play man-to-man on the outside or that you can cover, because that's what it's going to ultimately be for most of these football teams, right? Make sure you hit that thumbs up button. I also want to give a quick shout out to our friends